Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys a special upload. We're going to be going over the game between Tony and Trosko for the World Cup of Pokemon Playoffs Tiebreak. This is the quarterfinals between Team Europe and Team Spain. They were evenly matched throughout their regular season series, and now their playoff series, and now they're here in the do or die tiebreak. The first game of the best of three tiebreak. The tiebreak is basically the best three players in each team duel it out. First team to two wins. The first one was an absolute classic, an instant, really amazing, shocking performance by McMegan, barely beating Solo and two of the best players of all time. So I've already set the tone for an amazing tiebreak, but now Tony is up against Trosko in game 2 of the tiebreak. If Tony wins, then Team Europe is going to emerge victorious and move on to the semifinals, whereas if Trosko wins, then he will even it out, and then Spain will have one more chance to emerge victorious. Ultimately, I believe that third game would be Riku versus Mana. Yeah, so that game would be in about 6 hours, five and a half hours from now. So yeah, we're going to wait and see. Anyway, looking at the teams here, we got a bulky offensive team from Tony, probably more of a balanced team from Trosko. You could argue they're both bulky offense in all honesty. Zero Tapu Fini, which is unfortunate because I was like, oh yeah, both teams are going to bring Tapu Fini going into the game, but I guess my gut feeling was off. But that aside, that nonsense aside, we got two Buzzwole, really impressive, underrated Pokemon in the metagame right now. It does well against a plethora of physical attackers, things like Weavile, Landorus T, Kartana, which we all happen to see on Tony's team. So that might be a leg up for Trosko, but you got to be careful. There could be things like Aerial Ace on Kartana, Aerial Ace on Weavile, Toxic on Landorus T, or even Dual Wing Beat on that Buzzwole, or Toxic on the Buzzwole if you're feeling a little crazy. Something worth noting here is that Heatran with Toxic looks pretty good for both sides. There's no Clefable, there's no Blissey, no Hydreigon. It could really force some sort of incremental progress there. Although it is admittedly worth wording that everything Pokemon Trosko's team can threaten Tony's Heatran. Actually, yeah, every single Pokemon in this game threatens Heatran. It's pretty cool. So this is definitely a bit more of an epitome of the metagame right now, in that it's more bulky offensive status rather than kind of teleporting around all day. Okay, there's some teleporting here, but like it's not passive. We're going to see a lot of aggressive play here. No really way that we're going to see this game go well beyond, like, say, 100 turns, which we would have seen a lot of in the DLC 1 metagame, which I think is really cool. Anyway, we're going to see two water types lead off. We're going to see a Will-O-Wisp on a future site there. The Slowking being burnt is not a big deal for Tony. It's a nice start for Trosko, though. Future site there. It's going to be looming overhead. The combination of future site and Heatran actually looks pretty good for Tony, so I imagine we're going to see a teleport here out. And if we see the Pharaoh or the Landorus, there's definitely ways to take advantage of both. At the end of the day, it's going to be an advantageous switch for Tony, just no matter what he does with teleport here. And that's why it's such a good move on things like Slowking. I'd imagine that Rotom Wash goes for the Volt switch, because if you go for, say, a Hydro Pump, you're not going to do any damage here, coupled with the fact that Kartana is going to come in. Kartana plus Future Sight's pretty challenging to switch into, with that looming overhead for the Buzzwole. Although, honestly, it might be inevitable because, for example, let's say we see a Volt Switch here. Yep, it's going to do just under regenerative damage. And then we're going to see a Teleport. If Kartana matches up well with whatever he goes out into, you could just do the same thing, and Kartana plus Future Sight is threatening. But honestly, Weavile plus Future Sight is threatening, and Buzzwole plus Future Sight is threatening. And that's why Future Sight turn 1 there was such a great play by Tony. While getting burnt there wasn't like an amazing start, it actually sets him up really well nicely to get that Future Sight off followed by Teleport. So, yeah, I feel like Trosko's already on the back foot a little bit. Obviously, we're in the early stage of this game, and things like Ferrothorn, Heatran, and probably especially defense invested Rotom Wash or Landorus T can also do the trick there, so we'll have to wait and see. Digging a bit deeper into both teams, I find it interesting. I really like Trosko's team. It does look quite weak to things like Kyurem, but I guess you could rely on things like specially defensive Ferrothorn with Body Press or Gyro Ball for that a little bit. Yeah, it has to be special defensive Ferrothorn or special defense Heatran for things like that. Specs Kyurem in general is going to be threatening anyway, but also for Spec Dragon Pulp. But also, there's a lot of offensive presences on Trosko's team. I love how Rotom Wash opens the door, generates some momentum, gives you a nice soft check to ground types as well. That coupled with Buzzwole, so not all the pressure's on Buzzwole. As for Tony's team, I really like it as well. Kartana is a super underrated Pokemon, and I think it synergizes so nicely with Future Sight plus Teleport on Slowking. Weavile is just, in general, a really threatening Pokemon, and I think it's one of these teams with the rocks on trying to defog Landorus T, which is kind of trending upward right now. Now we're going to see Dragapult there from Trosko. Great play there. This is going to invite in a Heatran, though, and if I am Tony, I go Heatran here, and I just click Rocks, because A, Rocks get up, B, you're probably forcing the Rotom Wash to eat a Future Sight, which is going to do nice damage. And on top of that, the worst case this Dragapult can do is go for like a Specs Hydro Pump, which I don't think it would have because it's mainly to hit ground types like Landorus T for a one-shot, and you got Rotom Wash, you got Buzzwole, on Landorus T, so you know, worst case, it stays in to like 35-40% with the Shadow Ball if you're not fully special defensive. And again, Tony's team is another team where you're kind of reliant on special defensive Heatran to beat Dragapult. So we're going to have to wait and see how that dynamic plays out. Definitely some hesitation there on Tony's end. I wouldn't be shocked if he maybe decides to go to something like a Kartana and Bluff Scarf, because the future sight overhead can make that actually a pretty hard switch to make. But truth be told, that does require a certain level of risk, and I also really don't think he's Scarf Kartana on this build. I think it's probably Weavile as main form of speed control. So yeah. I do think it's a plus speed Weavile, though. We've been seeing a lot of Adamant Weavile, but things like Nasty Plot, Tornadus T look pretty promising against Tony's team if the Weavile is not quicker. So I'd imagine it's a jolly heavy-duty boost. Yeah, and he does go to Heatran ultimately, which is unsurprising. Again, I'd imagine he just clicks Rocks here. He should have it. It's almost definitely going to be Rock Strand and Defog on the Lender's T, but I guess he could be Defogless. He's got Boots on Weavile, presumably, Boots on Slowking, Boots on Buzzwole. So he could just run no Defog, but that would make him really weak to Spikes, but still having a couple Pokemon vulnerable and a couple knockoffs away from really being dramatically bad against them. So yeah, he does go for the Rocks ultimately. Future Sight's going to reveal the Rotomash as some special defense, but probably not maxed out. It does nice 37, and after leftovers, it leaves him just below 70% health, which, again, that's good incremental chip right there. We're also going to notice that the Heatran's quicker than the Rotomash, so it could be like one of those, like, spreads aiming to outrun things like Modest Magnezone, Choice Band Tyranitar, Modest Aegislash, or it could even be going a little quicker and outrun Adamant Scizor as well, although he does have Buzzwole for that too, so it could help. We're going to see another Volt Switch there, which is a great play from Trosko, setting the momentum back in his favor, likely letting him bring in something like the Ferrothorn for free, which can potentially even up the hazard field, although I do think it's probably Spikes with Rocks more likely than not onto Heatran. It'll be interesting to see how that opens up. We do indeed see the Ferrothorn here. So yeah, Tony's almost definitely just going to switch out. It's just a matter of if he goes to Buzzwole, Heatran, or Kartana. In my eyes, Heatran on the knock would not be great for the Dragapult matchup. I think that Buzzwole is ultimately his play here. Buzzwole also is quite threatening to Trosko's team besides his own Buzzwole. Buzzwole kind of forcing the opposing Buzzwole, if you will. And you could definitely take advantage of that with a switch. Actually, neither team switches into Buzzwole too well besides other Buzzwole. So we're going to see a lot of Buzzwole and Buzzwole action. Yeah, I think that's where I'm at with this game right now. We're going to see Spikes from Trosko here, and Spikes is really interesting because, again, we're likely going to see Boots on Pokemon like the Buzzwole, like the Slowking, like the Weavile, and then Landorus T's immune, but then Spikes hitting Heatran every single time to switch in alone is enough to where Ferrothorn's usefulness is humongously amplified. It makes things like Dragapult so much more threatening. In addition to that, it punishes, you know, trying to come in on, say, a Fire move from Heatran and then pivoting to something like your Slowking just to make sure like you don't like have to take a burn or a Toxic. Although I guess in Tony's case that's a bit less applicable as he's already burnt, as you can see there. So that can help there, but still Magma Tran's offensive threat potential is just immense in basically any matchup, even if you're facing a Slowking or a Rotom-Wash. Obviously to minimize a little bit here to what it could be if you weren't facing as Rebel of Water type. For example, if Urshifu or even Finny with no form of recovery was only Water type, you could probably get through a bit quicker, but still. We're going to see Slowking here, double switch on the Buzzwole. Interesting play there. I'm not huge on that by Tony, truth be told, because I feel like Leech Life is still going to be very, very threatening. But, it's interesting that Trosko took Rocks with his Buzzwole there. It could be Helmet. Anyway, we're going to see Landorus T come in scouting for that on the Dragapult. Interesting play there. Now, a lot of Landorus T lately have been running special defense. It's able to really help against things like Heatran, Tapu Koko in particular too. You don't really need physical defense to check things like Zeraora and opposing Landorus T, if you will. So, moreover, since again I don't think this is a Hydro Pump variant, and Draco Meteor would never kill the special defensive variant, even if it's modest. So, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Dragapult switch out here. And actually, the Dragapult hard switch is respecting the prospect of Scarf Landorus T. Personally, I would have just U-turned, but I see why he's thinking that way. I just don't think it's ever possible. Earthquake doing 34 there at a Ferrothorn does confirm our prior suspicion, though. It likely is a more specially defensive infested Ferrothorn, and that's probably a zero attack Landorus. I guess it could be an offensive Landorus versus a physically defensive Ferrothorn as well. So I guess that's an unchecked box here. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Tony's timer is down to 90 seconds. Trosko's down to 120. Both have been thinking really hard in this early game. And I said that Tony has a slight positional advantage, but it's really slight. At this point, Buzzwoles on both sides are going to determine a lot of what's going on. And it's worth noting that Tony's Buzzwole takes Spikes as well, which basically confirms that it has to be a Defog Landorus T. And it's already down to 76%, and if it switches out and it switches back in, it's going to be all the way down to 62.5, 63%. So yeah, and that Buzzwole is much lower now. Okay. And we see the Dragapult come in again. on the Slowking. Now, it's worth noting, the Dragapult's taking rocks damage too, so it's already down to 76 as well, 75 as well. And again, it'll be at 62.5 after rocks, and it should be able to live any attack here if you're Slowking. So I wouldn't be shocked if Tony were to just click Teleport here. However, you do risk taking 65, 68% from that Shadow Ball there, depending on, rolls and natures and whatnot. So Heatran wouldn't shock me either, but that Heatran, again, is taking spikes, it's taking Hex. Oh, a great scout of the Hex there from Tony, and that Hex does 29. That's a lot from Hex, so this actually probably is a speedier Heatran. I'm not sure I love Tony's Dragapult matchup that much anymore, given how much that Hex did. Shadow Ball's a 2K off their spikes now for sure. Man, really nice idea there by Trosko, and great way to scout that up by Tony, though. I gotta say, hands down, both made the right play there. And it's cool that when we give things like Status Rotom, Status Heatran, that you're running Hex there. But I think this kind of confirms that Trosko has Toxic on this Heatran somewhere, or Lava Plume on this Heatran somewhere, or even Thunder Wave in the Ferrothorn somewhere. That, coupled with the prospect of Toxic from Landorus T and Will-O-Wisp from Rotom, a lot of status there for Hex to really go in. And you don't necessarily need something like Flamethrower for Ferrothorn on the team with Heatran and Rotom either, so that's cool. Wow, a phenomenal double switch by Tony, getting into Kartana on a Rotom Wash. A really amazing play. It could have gone downhill quickly if he stayed and clicked Hex, but Tony saw right through that, predicting Rotom Wash switch, getting a free turn there. And then he goes for an Aerial Ace, predicting the Buzzwole. What an amazing sequence of plays from Tony. Tony Flygon, clawing his way ahead in true Aerial Ace fashion with Kartana, snatching the Buzzwole's life and giving him a 6-5 advantage right there. Just a great play, and that's really why you run Aerial Ace and Kartana, especially on teams like this. It's able to take advantage of teams stacking Pokemon that would otherwise be seen as kind of vulnerable, if you will, to Buzzwole. In that, you see Weavile, you see Landorus T, even your own Buzzwole, they're kind of just stopped in their tracks there. But no, with Kartana, Aerial Ace on the switch in, all of a sudden, Weavile is phenomenal, Buzzwole is impossible to swap into, and even Kartana now can spam knockoff without much resistance. Literally and figuratively. Moreover, the specially defensive Landorus T does come out from Tony, taking only 37% from the opposing Shadow Ball from Dragapult, potentially even not being a 3-hit kill after some leftovers. That makes it a great position for Tony even more so, especially if he collects a U-turn here. He actually goes Toxic, that works just the same, as we also see he's going to get a U-turn off here, as he's quicker, Landorus T leftovers go first. And yeah, all of a sudden, Tony is up well in front of Trosko, and it's looking as if Europe may just be able to claw their way into the semifinals off of his really phenomenally timed Kartana switching and predicting. Trosko is down, but he's definitely not out still. He does have Dragapult that can do some nice damage. He needs to find ways to get more chip on Landorus T and then openings to spam Shadow Ball. The issue is that once you spam Shadow Ball, all of a sudden Weavile is going to get a kill every time, and it kind of becomes a kill for kill game, but that favors Tony because Tony's up a Pokemon, and that's why the Aerial Ace timing there was so important. It really stopped Weavile's kind of counterplay, if you will, with Buzzwole being gone, so that's huge. And Landorus T there on the Volt Switch, an amazing play there by Tony, suppressing any chance that Trosko has of getting momentum. I imagine we just see another U-turn here, and that's going to leave the Rotom Wash much lower as well. And he's going to have to Volt Switch out, probably. So, yeah, imagine we see a U-turn here on the Volt Switch. Volt Switch is probably going to catch the Slowking. Yeah. Yep, and it does there, 31%. That's fine, though. And it does bring the Dragapult in once more. Don't get me wrong, but I feel as if that might be a little too late. As again, if the Dragapult clicks a Ghost move, Weavile comes in. Weavile comes in, and look, as soon as this Ferrothorn takes any more chip, it's into a kill range. So that's pretty tough, if you ask me. Now, we do have to see a fodder here from Tony. I'd imagine. Anyway, I don't think he's going to risk the Weavile on the Draco Meteor. So, a couple Pokemon that can die here. The first one would be the Heatran. You can just go to that. But honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he just stays in with the Slowking. It doesn't really seem to be needed for anything. Heatran is like the one thing you'd need it for, but I mean, it really depends on if the Landorus T or the Buzzwole is quicker than Heatran, I guess, as well. And he does just go to the Landorus T and Shadow Ball. That one does 44, which is much more than last time, but this still should be a roll in favor of Tony, given the damage we saw before. And yeah, it does eat the second one. An Earthquake there. So, in conclusion, Landorus T hit 3 Shadow Balls from Spexpult and then kill it with Earthquake. That's just funny how versatile Landorus T is in this meta game. Trosko's going to bring his own Landorus T now, but it's looking even harder as there's nothing that's really quick on his team. Buzzwole comes in on a substitute. That's interesting there, but I'm assuming, yeah, it's Ice Punch, and it's a quicker Buzzwole as well to make matters worse. Toxic from Landorus T is going to be cool, but unfortunately there, in Landorus T's case, it's going to be outran here and killed by Ice Punch. I almost wondered if Tony's going to say, hey, screw it, I'm just going to stand here and Honestly, doesn't this win? Like, if you close combat the heat train here. Yeah, okay. Unless it's a scarf buzzwall. Oh, he gets a freeze. Okay. I think you just switch here anyway. Yeah. He switches to the Rotom Wash. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, is that scarf buzz? There's no way that's scarf buzzwall. Usually you see faster train with substitute. Maybe it's a plus speed buzzwall. I'm not sure. I'll have to wait and see. Anyway. KARTANA comes in again, and I see no reason not to just spam knockoff. I know the Rotom Wash might live, but you don't really need to kill it. You just need to chip it. I guess the play that would also work is clicking. Hello, is this? Yeah, clicking knockoffs to play. Leaf Blade works, but if he goes to one of the steel types, it's kind of like you get nothing there. So yeah. I wonder if Trosko can be convinced to stay in here and eat the knockoff and try and like get a kill off with Hydro Pump. And he does stay in here on the knockoff, and he gets a Will-O-Wisp off. Okay, so the threat of KARTANA is mitigated drastically, but despite that, he still gets a kill there, putting him in a 6-3 position. The frozen Heatran is the response to this. Heatran's gonna have to thaw out. It actually did take a freeze, switching into that Ice Punch there from the Buzzwall. Pretty huge. Anyway. So yeah, I mean, I still think Tony is a pretty advantageous position at this point. I mean, I guess you just go Slow King here, and yeah, and unfortunately it's going to stay frozen. That's tough for Trosko trying to claw back, but I would be surprised if Tony were to falter and lose this game nonetheless. So yeah, he goes for Future Sight there, and he can kind of just set up a win at this point. Honestly, I see no reason why you just don't teleport, and then you probably bring out the Landorus T, or you can even bring out the Buzzwole, because it should be quicker than the Heatran if it's quicker than the Landorus T. The issue is that he's probably going to be scared of taking more damage. So yeah, you got to be careful, but I think Buzzwole and clicking a fighting move is fine. I think Landorus T is fine too. It really depends on the sets. Tony's timer is low, but it's kind of at a point where he's able to cruise through the endgame. You just can't make any like blatant mistakes, and he should be fine. As for Trosko, he's basically hoping for a miracle at this point, some sort of disconnection, timeout, or a series of blunders on Tony's end. Of course, anything's possible, especially if you play optimally on your own end, but it might be a little too late for the Raging Spaniard and his teammates there, as a close combat coupled with the Future Sight looming overhead is going to just barely leave that Landorus T hanging on for dear life. Now at this point, while the Buzzwole may very well be close to running out of health due to the poison damage, it's going to be able to take out the Landorus T or one of the steel types alongside it, which is going to put us into a 5-2 position after this turn in all likelihood. I don't see a way. I guess the -1 attack Buzzwole could like not kill either one of the steels, and then it leaves them low, yeah. But Landorus T's in Stealth Rock range, you're just going to let it go exactly. So that makes it, yeah, the 5-2 game now. As we see the poison take at the Buzzwole. So not a 6-0, not a fully fledged body bag here, but at this point, we're going to see the Landorus T, Heatran, both be very hard to switch into. Even the KARTANA, despite being burnt, could just spam Sacred Sword until it dies. And Tony should win this game, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, whatever it is. I can't see Trosko coming out of this alive, barring some really craziness. KARTANA does come in here, yep, and it's just going to try and get off as much damage as it can before it dies. As the frozen Heatran is to switch once more, trying its hardest possible to thaw out. Sacred Sword's going to do 46, this gives him one more chance. No, it does not thaw out. Looks like it's going to be a Tukyo here for Tony, barring, thaw plus protect, or roll, low roll plus thaw. So, yeah, Ferrothorn's going to come in here on this Sacred Sword. That's going to do another 42 there. The combination of barbs plus the fact that Ferrothorn's quite bulky is going to mean that it actually is going to lose this 1v1 in the KARTANA despite having to switch into it, but it's going to remain alive at only 10% while the KARTANA's at, which means that the Landorus T can come in and finish off the game with Earthquake, giving Tony his, I believe, first tiebreak win in his first tiebreak game in his time on Smogon as a player. Really impressive game from Tony there. I believe that brings him either the 4-1 or 3-2 record-wise. I think 4-1. Unfortunately for Trosko and Team Spain, they're going to fall here. A really great run in the tournament, having an impressive round 1 and a good claw back, and not only in the end of round 1 after they lost a number of games, but also in the playoff series. And it's unfortunate that they weren't able to come back in tiebreak, but nonetheless, a good run. Congratulations to Team Europe on advancing to the semifinals, and I'm looking forward to hopefully matching up with them in the finals if my team and their team are able to make it. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to leave your thoughts on the game, the teams, and my narration down below in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Sorry I haven't been super active lately, just been a lot going on, but thank you guys so much for understanding, and have a great day. Alright, later guys. Bye.